Well, thank you, Senator Inhofe, and thanks for making this a priority for your committee. All these regulations have a good name, and I'm always hesitant to refer to them by the great name they always have. The Clean Power Act, the power is a whole lot cleaner than it was a decade ago or a decade and a half ago. We're now at the point of, can we afford the next step in clean power? Senator Capito mentioned in her comments that this impacts non-energy producing states just like it produces energy producing states. We used to mine some coal in Missouri. We haven't mined coal in Missouri for about a decade now. So while I think the war on coal is a bad idea for the economy and a bad idea for the country, what specifically impacts me more where we live and people in our state is the war on coal-fired plants. These are plants that are in place, haven't been paid for yet, paid for over a reasonable period of time by the people who use the electricity. And if you don't get to pay for the plant, if you don't get to use the plant, somebody still has to pay for the plant. A plant that's much cleaner, much more efficient, much more environmentally friendly than it was a decade ago or 5 years ago. We've made great strides in this area, but we don't need to see our utility bills go up by double digits or even double in some cases for some individuals and in some states. The idea that you have to have, that the EPA has to actually say you need to use technology that's available. The technology here for carbon sequestration is not available. I've asked EPA witnesses this same question: is this available? The best answer I ever got was, well, there are parts of it that might be available, and we feel like somebody should be able to figure out how to put them together and use them so that our prescribed alternative would work. So what would happen if the EPA got its way, in some cases, would be you'd be paying for the perfectly good current power plant that provides utilities to families all over your state. You'd then also be paying for the failure of the technology that's not available if you attempt to do that, and the EPA is wrong. There's a reason nobody's done this before and it doesn't work. And then you'd be paying for the third thing that you'd have to do to comply with this rule. This rule does not make sense. Nobody pays your utility bill but you. This rule has the biggest potential impact on poor families. Families that are most hurt by this rule are families that can barely pay their utility bill now. The EPA and the administration would like to convince people that somehow there's some big power company that's going to pay this bill. The power company is the rural electric co-op, the locally owned municipal power company, and even the heavily regulated power company that has to go to get a rate increase to the Public Service Commission in our state and other commissions in other states. The way these bills are paid is the cost of producing electricity is divided back only to the people who use that electricity. This will be hard for poor families. It'll be hard for young people because the jobs we will have if we have competitive utility bills that take advantage of the great American energy opportunities we have are not going to be there because they're going to go somewhere else. And they're going to go somewhere that cares a whole lot less about what comes out of the smokestack than we do. This is not a win-win. This is a lose-lose. The Capito bill tries to create an environment where we can actually figure out how this can be a winning combination for American families, not a losing combination.